Hi you guys, so in this video I'm going to make a stork bite. You can use this same technique for a strawberry birthmark on the head, on the forehead here. I'm using our ugly little test head here, so I'm just going to do one right here. I'm using Genesis to do this. You can use any type of paint that you're using. So first I'm just going to go over potential colors that you can use. My favorite color to use is Bountiful Baby Pre-Mixed Dark Red. This creates a really nice color. I also use Bountiful Baby's Pre-Mixed Eyelid Purple, which creates a really great color as well. Bountiful Baby Ethnic Lip Blush and Nail also has a very nice color, or you can mix some of your own using red, blue, and a little bit of black sometimes if needed. So let's go ahead, I don't know what premix you guys have, let's just go ahead and start with our own color. I really prefer mixing this with Exodus Thinning Oil. You can use just regular odorless mineral spirits, but I really find that the oil just makes it slightly thicker so it doesn't run as much. It's just a little bit easier to work with, but both work fine. And I just need a little brush cleaning palette right there. I'm gonna get my brush wet. And you want this paint mix kind of opaque. So let's start with a little bit more here. And for depth and realism, you really don't want to do just one layer of color. I usually do at least 2 or 3 layers. I'll usually start with like a purple color and then go in with the darker red. So I'm just adding some blue until I get like I don't want a bright purple. I just want an almost kind of a little bit purple, like a wine color almost. Okay, so that looks good. This is what that is going to look like right now. And I'm just going to test this color right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of black to that. It's still a little bit too bright red. I'm not going to add a lot of black, just a really tiny touch. You can use Mars Black, Carbon Black, whichever black you have that you want to use. And let's just take a little look again here. Okay, that is much better. It's gonna look like, I know you can't really see it very well because it's so dark on there, but it's gonna look like a dark blood color, like if you're getting a blood draw before, you know what it looks like going into the tube, not blood like where it hits oxygen. And so there's a few different ways we can apply this. Normally, I don't mention products that I can't give you guys a link for, but I got these a really long time ago. I've never been able to find them again. I spent about an hour before making this video searching to see if I could. It is a sea sponge, like craft dauber. It's a sea sponge on a stick. I don't know if you can find them. Send me a message and let me know, and I'll post the link. You can also use a regular craft sponge dauber. My favorite though to use are Swisper's Jumbo Wedges. And then we can also use some brushes. Really, like, the more messed up the brush, the better for this. If you only have new brushes, you can really just like grind them around and just really try to screw them up so that the hairs are kind of sticking in all directions. So I'm going to start, we'll use a sponge first. I'm just going to rip this off. I like the jumbo one because it's loose and it's gonna give us a better little pattern here. So I'm gonna take this, and I'm not brushing it all the way on. I'm just putting some in different areas. And this is gonna be kind of our first little layer here. They usually start for placement, and it's up to you. You can put them wherever you want. Normally hair would start about here, kind of level with the bottom of the ears there, and go up. Usually with real stork bites, a tiny bit would be like on the back of the neck, and then it kind of goes up into the hair. So this is like my basic first layer there. And then we can go ahead and we're gonna do a little bit more to that. So I can take a little bit of this, put it in this well, and I'm just gonna thin it a little bit here with just a little bit more thinner. And you don't have to copy this exact mix. The basic thing is that you want some dimension and a little bit of variation in color. You want these little spots that stick out a little bit more, or stand out a little bit more. And if you are doing it in a crease, you don't want it to pull in there, but you don't want it to be super uniform looking. So just kind of really gently use what you can to clean that crease up. Okay, so this is a good starter layer. I'm gonna go ahead and bake this, and then we'll do the next layer. All right, while that is finishing baking, I'm just gonna go ahead and mix up another color. Again, Exodus thinning oil and some eyelid purple. Let's clean our brush off. And I want this one visible, but not quite as dark as that first layer here. So this is good right here. All right, so we have our first basic little layer. So now we're just gonna add a little bit of dimension here. I'm just gonna put a little bit into this well, and I'm gonna take my real messed up brush. I don't wanna soak this brush. I just wanna get a tiny bit on the ends, and you can just gently kind of pounce it, make sure that you don't have too much. Pattern is really important. You don't want just a up and down. I usually kind of start it over here, go this way, and then go this way, but you can do, you know, whatever your personal preference is. So I'm just using my brush here and just doing a really light, you can tell I'm not pressing hard, I'm just barely touching just to get a little bit of that pattern on there. You could also take one of your colors and just kind of brush a little bit on here like you would a sponge, and just barely blot it off, and then you can go in and add some more. I do try to keep the more concentrated part in the center. If you see some areas that you really feel like you want to emphasize, just get some on your brush, dab your brush off, and you can go in with a regular brush. I didn't dab that off quite enough. And you can just do some really small little dots on areas that you just want to stand out a little bit more. I really like doing these effects on especially like lighter haired babies, where it'll just kind of poke through a little bit. And that is looking a little too uniform, so I'm just gonna pounce off that little tiny section there. And you can just keep going, and then you'll kind of get to a certain point where that's enough for one color, and you want to just add back just a little bit more variation for some depth, just for as much realism as possible. And then I would just go ahead and bake it. And that would be our stork bite. Again, I do want to make sure that I'm getting any out of the creases. And let me go ahead and bake this, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. All right, so this is what our stork bite looks like right out of the oven. And I'm just going to touch up one thing because I didn't show you how to do it with the sponge. The sponge is going to be, you know, exactly the same as the cosmetic wedge and brush, except for with heat set, the sponge doesn't hold paint as well. So I usually just paint a little bit on in a random pattern, very, very gently, just kind of barely touch it to my paper towel just to get a little excess off. And then I'll just kind of go in and add a little bit more. And then that would be it. This is about as dark as I do my stork bites. You can definitely do yours lighter if you want it lighter, just add more thinner to your paint. If you want it darker, add more pigment to your mix. They come in all different like shapes and sizes. I like doing this style because my daughter was born with a very pronounced stork bite. She still has it, and it was like this, so that's the style I tend to do. But a lot of them, you know, are a lot wider. Some are higher, some start way lower and almost go actually onto the back and then all the way up. So really whatever your style preference is, as far as realism goes, it could look realistic just because they vary so much. If you wanted to do one on the forehead here, it would be literally exactly the same as what we just did. You would just put a little bit of paint on and just do the same thing. When I do them on the front, I don't go all the way up to the hairline. I usually do a little bit more subtle, and I'll just kind of do like a little line right here. And then that's about it. And I try not to do a straight line. I'll just do kind of, you know, a real subtle on the forehead. But you can do them, they can show up almost anywhere. The strawberry, they usually call these a strawberry birthmark, although it is technically still a stork bite. And then on the back, they would call it a stork bite or an angel's kiss. All right, you guys, I hope that that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.